Papa, your youngest grandchild, Hada, who you've never seen, asked me about you again today. She Googled you at school on her computer. Certain facts came up, and a picture, she says, of your face, your shoulders, one naked, one draped in kente cloth. There were no legs to you, just your torso and your face. She said it was not enough. She wanted more, to see, to know much, much more. So I brought her to Wenchi, to our home, your home, to trace your footsteps. Like a dream, Papa, I remember you. Visions and voices and the feel of your hands. Like a dream, I remember you. Visions and voices, visions and voices. We trace you, Papa. We trace you. We trace you. We trace you. We trace you.
My mother never got into labor pains. She went to farm. She was a farmer, came, and while she was in the bathroom having her bath, something just dropped from her private side. She started screaming. And my uncle, who happened to be Wenchi, rushed to the bathroom and they picked this sack.
They use what they call it, sword to break it.
And there was the baby with the cord. My mother, I'm told, says she didn't have the slightest sign that she was going to have a baby. And so, but a full-term baby. That time, their interpretation was that he was so clean, he didn't want anything to touch his body.
Born in Wenchi, in the Brongahafo region, on 11 July 1913, Kofi Abrefa Busia was the eldest of 13 children.
His academic life started from 1.5 years, according to my mother. Whenever they went to shop, my brother will cry and cry until my mother takes off the paper from the cloth and gave it to him. He was going to be a good bookman.
As the expected successor to his uncle, the Omahene of Wenchi, Busia was not slated for classroom education. But being informed of the young Busia's brilliance, the chief agreed to allow him to formally enroll in the school.
At the age of 3, he went to church after the church had closed in the night. So the chief, my uncle, beat gong gong to announce that his nephew's lost until about 1 or 2 a.m. Then one chapel keeper forgot something in the church. He went and found my brother. That's where his Christianity too, I can legate, started, for a very age of between 3 and 4.
At age 6, Busia walked a daily trek for nearly 1 hour in order to continue school and his letters.
Nana, take care of this man. He's going to be a great man.
When Busia was 8 years old, amazed by his learning abilities, visiting missionary Reverend William Whittle and his wife Alice, stationed in Wenchi, requested that he stay with them in order to master the English language and further his education.
When Kofi was a small boy of 8 years, His uncle was the paramount chief of Wenchi, whose authority was powerful and extensive. Kofi was his heir, and he was very proud of his lineage. He was a bright and happy little fellow, and was soon at home among us. Soon after this, I decided to give a treat to some of our members who had been particularly zealous in a certain church activity, so I arranged to give them a tea. And I asked our boys, the cook, the garden boy, and Kofi, our houseboy, to assist in the serving of the tea. 2 of them agreed at once, but not Kofi. He flatly refused and stood there, proud and defiant. "You ask me, the nephew of the chief, to serve them? I cannot, and I will not do it." And I called out to him, "Kofi, come here. Bring your New Testament." I opened the Testament at John 13 and asked him to read where I indicated. He read slowly and clearly. "And Jesus, knowing that God had given everything into his hands, riseth from supper, and layeth aside his garments. And he took a towel and girded himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the feet of the disciples." At this point, Kofi's voice faltered and then stopped. I looked across at him. His eyes were filled with tears. He could not see to read any further. There was no need for him to read any further, for he said, "Master, if Jesus, the Son of God, could do this, then I, although I am the nephew of the Omanhin, I will serve these people."
This is the village Papa's father founded. It is from here he first walked to school, to Wenchi Primary School. Going to school made Papa very happy, but when he was 10 years old, he received bad news.
Dear Mr. and Mrs., I am very sorry to tell you of a sad event. I'm going to Wenchi tomorrow. I'm now a very poor boy. You know my uncle is dead. My mother, who is very poor, cannot buy me cloth whilst taking care of 3 of my brothers. This is an example to me that I must trust in the Lord and do right.
And so he's the head of the family from the same time that my uncle died, as far back as 1923. And my brother was then very young.
I got into Infant's Prim in 1925, and Busia, as we knew him, came in 2 years after me. They talked about a young boy from Wenchi, very bright, spoke English like an Englishman.
From a village of Wenchi to Accra, for a bush boy like him to go to school, go and mix among, these rich parents, lawyers, sons and daughters. My mother had to go to farm, plant 1 or 2 banana, sell, perhaps yam or 2, sell, and then try to get money for fees.
Papa returned home to Wenchi from Mfanspim with no money to pay his school fees the following term. That was the vacation he met Old Man Ajaman. Old Man Ajaman recorded he became aware of Papa one afternoon in 1929, reading an article entitled Mfansipim Report in the Gold Coast Times. The article told how Papa had sat for the Junior Cambridge examinations in 6 subjects and passed with distinction in each of the subjects. Moved by what he called Papa's unparalleled academic feat, Old Man Ajaman wrote to Mfanspim and invited him to come visit him in Kumasi. He found Papa fascinating. Old Man Ajaman therefore invited Papa to stop by again in a few days on his way back from Wenchi to Mfanspim. Papa replied that he would not be returning to Mfantsipim because there was no money to pay his school fees. Old man Ajuman wrote to the Mfantsipim principal saying he would therefore pay all Papa's school fees and other allied academic financial commitments.
Mfantsipim, whenever he came on holidays, he taught people of Wenchi tennis, golf, cricket, high jump, and he himself was a very good footballer.
And my younger sister too, my brother, Dr. K. Busia.
My name is Akosia Busia, and I'm the 10th born.
I remember at the age of 6, he was then teaching at the Wesley College, and came home on holidays and told my mother that he wanted to take me to a boarding school near Wesley College. My father didn't like the idea. My mother wasn't the first wife, and we come from a polygamous family. And he said he couldn't take care of my mother's children in school and leave the rest, so nobody should have education.
He said to send a girl to school is waste of time.
So I was taken to a boarding school where my father wouldn't know where I am to chase me up.
He was a person who sent all of us to school.
Lo and behold, I became the first girl child in Wenchi district to obtain Class 7 certificate in 1943.
When I first met the Prof, as he is commonly called, I had no idea that it would lead to such a life or such a day as this. I first set eyes on him when I was a young 14-year-old schoolgirl at Ashimata College. Believe you me, I was hooked. We used to call him Teacher Bibio. He was a small man with a mighty mind. He taught me Latin. Ask where my Latin is now.
Now then, from Achimota, you know, he had his scholarship when he went to overseas. That very week, the ship sailed. Then Hitler declared war. The same year, 1939, September. Brother left in August, but September, there was war.
I first met Kofi at Oxford in 1940 during the war. He was a member of an international club started by the student Christians, of which I was the secretary. He often went to London to broadcast for the BBC wartime overseas service.
The sensation of the year was when we heard down below there somewhere that 2 of our teachers were being whisked away to join the administrative service. And so your daddy and Mr. Ledu were extracted from the Achimota's staff.
It was all over the news, you know, these 2 Africans who've been given European appointments which had never been given to black Africans before.
Some of us approached Prof to ask him why he was taking on that job. And what he said was, he just wanted to prove that the African was just as capable as the European, and that he wasn't going to do it permanently. He was only going to do it for a short while to prove the point. And in fact, this is exactly what the Prof did.
I think he went to in UK with the first wife, and suddenly this girl died.
My mother stopped all her farming and everything to go and stay with him and take care of him. But immediately after the Christmas, he went back to his station. 3 days after, my mother had intestinal obstruction, was sent to hospital and couldn't make it. So when he got the message that he's lost his mother, he couldn't believe it. Those days, it was compulsory that a postmortem should be done. As a royal, you should not be cut by a knife. So he has to telephoned the doctors to tell him that nobody should do postmortem on his mother. That's the other side of my brother. He was highly educated and everything, but he never gave in to his tradition. He was a traditionalist.
Busia called me that my friend, he has got something for me to do, and he will want me to try to help. So I should come from time to time to come and help. But that's when he was right. He was trying to get the position of chief in Ghana ready.
Everything he wrote was from home, but put in a way that those people overseas would respect it and respect us and respect our wisdom. He's talking about family and how people treat each other. Not just great people and not just great things, but ordinary things, brother and brother, sister and sister, husband and wife, chief and people.
I was all the time acting as a chief on his behalf, in the real sense, because he had given me that power. When Amapia died, we thought my brother was not going to marry again. So we're all relieved and happy to hear that after all he has got a midwife.
So she brought Auntie to hostel and asked of my opinion. Said she's a beautiful woman. So I agree with you. I think she will be a good wife.
Until you married your mother.
An all-African wedding was recently solemnized at the Wesley Memorial Methodist Church, Oxford. African dress was worn by the bride, Miss Victoria Moko Bruce, and bridegroom, Dr. Kofi A. Busia. The groomsmen and several guests were similarly attired, providing a bright and colourful setting for the most moving and significant ceremony. The bridegroom, Dr. Busia, at present on the staff of the University College of the Gold Coast, is a graduate of University College and in 1941 secured his BA degree, and in 1947 his thesis gained for him his doctorate of philosophy. He has just returned from a visit to the United States, where he's been in close consultation with the heads of the social science sections of several universities there. The bride, Miss Bruce, is a fully trained nurse and midwife from Accra and has had some experience in the Churchill Hospital, Oxford. The wedding was conducted by two former Gold Coast missionaries, the Reverend William Whittle, in whose home Dr. Busia lived during his early years, and the Reverend Morris H. Giddings, who exercised a great influence upon his life at a later stage. Dr. and Mrs. Busia are now on their way to the Gold Coast.
When he got married to Antina first, we went to his house and he called all of us. I'm going to tell what he told us. He said, "You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your brothers and sisters. I went around the whole world and I chose this woman as my wife. I don't want anybody to come to this house and misbehave, insult, or do anything to her. She is my wife." And then called Antina and said, "You know, my brothers and sisters, they don't have anybody. I'm the father, I'm the mother, and everything. So when they come here, they've come to their home and take good care of them."
Pa was a very kind person. Now, how many qualities? Very kind, very tolerant, very brave, very forgiving. He was a lot of things rolled into one.
And then in 1950, I went to the University College of the Gold Coast. We were then at Achimota. And this was when I met him again, running the Department of African Studies.
He wanted to know whether they could convince him that the European countries have a school of European studies. Busia could cut to the heart of the problem.
Soon after, it was changed to the Department of Sociology.
He is from a royal family, pure blood, Chepterian descent. And so he's proud of this culture, Africa, and he's proud of that European culture too. So he respected both. He doesn't want one to be pulled down because of racial arrogance.
Soon after we were married, people used to come to him in the house and they would be discussing current affairs and so on.
On Tuesdays, every other week, we would go to Dr. Busia's house. We had either coffee or soft drinks or tea. He only took water.
Even as a social being, he never drank, he never smoked. He never smoked at all. And at cocktail parties, in fact, water was his champagne.
Everybody else was drinking whiskey and so forth, and occasionally he'll sip his water.
I never saw him taking any other drink.
It was at that time I noticed he was doing politics. I didn't do anything about stopping him because I knew what he told me was the truth and that he was trying to help.
Dr. Busia entered formal politics in Ghana in 1951, then the Gold Coast, of course, when for the first time in our history, national elections were held to choose African legislators. He had earlier indicated his natural concern for the interests of our rural folk by encouraging farmers in the western region to form cooperatives, to press for fairer prices in the 1940s when he was district commissioner.
He was such a rare personality in the then Gold Coast. And all school children who aspired to be scholars and things like that dreamt of becoming a Busia in the future. In fact, I was one of them.
We had all heard about it, Busia, and it was simply, I couldn't describe seeing him in a matter of about a few feet from me. It was wonderful.
This Busification was the process that we were all going through in terms of, a certain academic approach to questions that need to be examined.
There was something very cool about him, in spite of the crowd and the jostling and pushing. Very cool, and he spoke so softly. So that was my first impressions of him. And of course, since then, even then at that age, I thought that was the man who should be an idol for me in politics.
When Nkrumah came here in 1952, stood at the public park field, and then cast insinuation that Bu's brother said that brother was not fit to polish his shoes or something like that, lace his shoes or so.
So the people of Wenchi became annoyed and hooted at him. And for that reason, Nkrumah became annoyed and closed the Wenchi court down.
Nkrumah was trying to use me as a scapegoat to victimize chiefs in the country.
Politics started getting nasty in this country. And what I was told, that he was approached by Bafua Kutu and others, that he should come and help.
They all came to say that he want a leader who is be accepted.
And I think it wasn't an easy decision for him to take.
They come and ask Busia in the office to think about the idea of leading them.
The government was troubling Mr. Bam, the principal, the head, about allowing Papa to do politics from the university.
That was why he left academic life to go into politics.
And when he agreed, I was a little bit worried. Said, this with your brains, Bushman, formidable professor. Not that you have the country at heart. But I mean, these people are rough, and they would do everything to destroy such minds.
They elected him, NLM, to lead the Ashanti nation. Those days when we were fighting for Federation of Ghana.
He came to Parliament as the opposition leader.
You are dealing here with a people with a long history of which they are proud, with a culture of which they are proud. You're dealing with a strong national sentiment, and the Constitution should do justice to these historical facts.
At independence, the Queen's representative came to inaugurate the country.
The British monarchy of Ghana comes to an end. Governor-General, the Earl of Listowel, speaks the will of Britain and of Ghana.
After the Queen's address, they were responded to, I think, by the Prime Minister, then Kwame Nkrumah, and Busia, I understand, gave such a brilliant, because then I was still in secondary school, Form 2 or Form 3. But the impression went out, and he spoke well thought through, eloquent, as ever, very cool.
Nkrumah was becoming gradually autocratic. Agents were fed onto the campus, monitoring your conversations. Some were even monitoring your lectures. And it changed the atmosphere in the university.
Our letters were being censored unofficially.
They gave him, I think, a month or so to move out from Legon.
When you hear about a vacant house and you go, as soon as they hear your name, they tell you there's no house, there's no vacancy.
So his father-in-law, being Mrs. Namoko Busia's father, gave him a piece of land at Mataheku, and he built something like prefab house on it for him to have somewhere to lay his head.
In fact, the man who built it had to leave everything and run away and go and leave the country, because Nkrumah and his people were threatening him. Anybody who was kind to us or talked to us or, they just had contact with any of us in the party that Nkrumah didn't like, he had to persecute you.
That time, there was a very move by Nkrumah to get him, imprisoned or assassinated or poisoned.
Nkrumah introduced the Avoidance of Discrimination Act to destroy all parties, because he had the intention to set up the one-party system right from day one.
Opposition members were being detained, and he came under threat.
Then they took us to the police, Cantonment's police station, both Modesto and me. And first person to come and visit us was Professor Busia, and he asked where they were taking me to. They wouldn't tell him. And I remember him telling them, "You must be ashamed of yourselves. Now we know where you are taking them to. Why wouldn't you tell us where you were taken to if you knew you were taken to a prison in Accra?" Then they immediately shut the gate to keep him off. And then he shouted from behind the gate, "MKR, don't worry, God will be with you, and you'll be in our prayers, and we'll do all we can to bring you out."
Nkrumah was detaining people without trial, just giving your opinion about something, even in Parliament or outside. And Nkrumah gets angry, they lock you up.
Kobaduse hinted my brother that there was a plan to get him assassinated or to get him arrested or detained, so he should leave the country.
Papa actually talking to Nkrumah. They're standing outside Parliament House. Apparently that evening, Nkrumah decided to have the papers drawn up for Papa's arrest.
He was being forced out of the country.
He came back to Accra and basically said to Mama, "Whatever happens, get on that boat," and disappeared. The police came to Blue House, to Zongo Junction, to Blue House, to arrest Papa about 2 hours after he had said goodbye to Mama.
I heard somebody knocking my window about 11:30 p.m. And I shouted, "Who is it?" And he said in his soft, gentle voice, "It's me, Amma. Get up and open the gate." I opened, he was in his hat, raincoat. It was rain, dogs and cats. And he said he wanted to see our auntie. So we met in my auntie's room, and he said, let us pray. And after that, he told us that they've held a cabinet meeting and a decision had been taken that he should be arrested and detained for being a leader of opposition. So somebody was kind enough to give him the hint. And he came home to say goodbye to us. And God's willing, we'll meet one day.
I didn't know where he was going to meet us. He said he would to go and he would come.
Mama realized that he must cross West Africa by car to get to Freetown to board that boat. That was the one chance she had of seeing him.
And they delayed the boat, I think MV Aurora, one of these, for more than 6 hours, searching her to find out whether she's put her husband in a suitcase.
They were poking bits of metal into things I had packed.
When we got up that morning, all our houses have been surrounded, searching for Kofi Busia. So when they were searching Namoko, Atakrade, they were searching Offenso in Ashanti region, and they were searching our houses in Wenchi at the same time, the same hour, the same minute.
It was the ship's captain, an Englishman, who said, this ship does not go without this passenger.
So we sailed to Liverpool and into exile.
A few days after we were sailing, Mama woke us up, and it felt like the middle of the night.
I had you all dressed up, hoping that he would show.
We were there on the edge, and we saw the gangplank being put out, and people walking up, and people were boarding. Anyway, we sat there bored and hungry for a long time, just looking at people, until suddenly Mama said, there he is. There he was. We looked down, and there was Papa in white shirt sleeves carrying a little, not even a briefcase, a kind of big envelope portfolio thing, smiling away, walking up the gangplank.
I was so happy.
By 59 or so, he was out of the country.
He would disappear for days or weeks, and we knew he'd gone to somewhere in Africa to do something and then come back and teach and write and so on. And so for somebody going through all of that, to still be able to say to his children every morning when he was there, let's all work together and sit and supervise our 1 + 1 is 2.
I learned from my father. He gave me so many gifts.
He used to encourage me to strive hard, especially in the educational field.
He didn't waste my childhood. Not a single moment.
At the time, he was writing, he must have been working on the Challenge of Africa. He was working on the Challenge of Africa. He was establishing the African studies at El Colegio de Mexico. And he was leader of the opposition in exile at a very, very turbulent time.
My brother was arrested and was taken to detention. All is that is a younger brother to Dr. Busia. Brigade boys were coming there. Whenever they see my son, well, yes, this is Busia's sister. If he gets her, we'll beat her up.
Life became hell. So we all left the country, leaving my aged auntie who was about 80 years old. Anybody who goes to visit her becomes an enemy of the state.
In exile, he was very active and consistent in pleading the cause of democracy for Ghana and the plight of exiles and refugees.
Professor Busia showed up there in London when we were drafting a petition to persuade the lenders to put political conditionalities, especially in terms of human rights. Akoso Bodam has been on the table for a long time, since since the days of the British themselves. And in 1955, of course, it was not yet built. It was not, in fact, completed until 1965. But the discussions about finding money have been going on for a long time. Those who dispense aid should have regard to the human rights records of the borrowers. This angered the CPP.
At a time when the people of Ghana had lost their voice, Dr. Busia from far gave them a voice.
Professor Busia was fighting hard in the UK to get us released.
Dr. Busia, what are the main disclosures in this document?
First, the petitioners point out that they are in prison virtually for life.
The President wants me to tell you that under the law, you should be released in 3 days from today. But he's taken a bill to Parliament. Parliament has approved that you stay in prison for another term of 5 years.
Their lives are recklessly exposed to danger. They are locked up in vehicles when they are ferried across rivers, chained so that they can't move. They complain that they are being underfed.
I had gone so lean that I was beyond recognition.
They are tortured, ill treatment, put into solitary cells and chained, and above all, they talk of what are called exercises in the Nsawam prison, where they are submitted to very severe, even brutal conditions.
Does it throw any further light on the death of Dr. Dankwa, the opposition leader in Ghana? You yourself have said that his death wasn't normal.
May I read from the petition? Dr. J.B. Dankwa, 70, obviously died as a result of the exercise which he endured for some 13 months and as reported by certain warders in chains. He was once seen by fellow detainees chained for merely standing up in his cell to stretch his limbs and exercise his body. He was an asthmatic and had frequent attacks because he was kept in a cell quite unsuitable for his condition. He petitioned against continued detention in that unsuitable cell with the prison medical officer's approval, and yet he died in it.
He had, in that regard, seen the British Prime Minister to take steps to ensure that we were released, but all to no avail.
Brother said he would come to Ghana. He wouldn't stay there. They would say we were cowards. For them, for his people, his colleagues to be detained. So he would come and face the fire. He was worried about his colleagues, but we were worried about his life.
We know prominent people. Mr. Obeche Bilante, for instance, died there. Dr. Dankwa died there. And there were people who were dying.
Then, about 1 a.m., there was a knock at my door. He came down, knocked my door, said, "Oh, I got up." So, well, I've seen a vision. I've decided not to go. The voices said to me, "This is not the time for you to go. Your time will come. The time that you go to Ghana, you get people to come and welcome you."
Next on the Prof.
We heard Dr. Busia was coming back to Ghana. We got ready, went to the airport. People almost trampled on me. People just carried him shoulder high. The hero had arrived.
We basically watched a gun battle between the soldiers around the house and the security officers who were there in the room beside the one I'd commandeered.
Abi ran from my room and came to me.
History has shown us that you do not create permanent unions between people through the bullet. This is why I advocate
dialogue.
I'm very happy today, as we remember Professor Busia. I found out that he was a lay preacher, you know, and it's a great thing to have someone who is at the helm of affairs and in power, believing in God.
He decided to organize church in the castle, the old house, first floor. And it was growing.
My great purpose is to study all I can. And then when the time comes to pour out my life in the service of my God and my country.
Like, we like you. Comment, we hear you. Share, we share with you. Join us, subscribe to your Prince of Peace family, and hit that notification button so you always know what's up.